Mr.
No
E,
problem.
let's
Do this then. Let's do this thing. Okay.
So,
Yeah, we can get started anytime you're ready.
Mr. E, it's very nice to have you on 360 Mentor and
Same.
provide an opportunity for people.
I am happy the devil did not succeed in stopping us from communicating. So super excited to be on the show. Huh?
The first thing I would like you to teach me, before we even go into all this other stuff, do you want to guess the first thing I want you to teach me?
Okay, please. Let me think. I can't think of anything that you don't already know. Huh?
I don't,
because you're very old and wise. Huh? You don't what? Sorry?
I don't know how to pronounce your
names.
Hello.
No. Oh, that one. That one. Yes. So the name is Inyoluwa Aboyeji, which is a long and complicated.
Aboyeji.
Yeah. Aboyeji. Yeah. See, you almost got it. Yeah. You're there. You're pretty much there. Okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Nyoluwa Aboyeji. That's the name. But everyone calls me E, by the way, Robert. So feel free to just call me E throughout this call, because that's what that's what most people call me, actually.
That's fine. So there is a question I ask all my guests at the beginning, which is, were you born with some unique aspect? So, but for you, I have two questions. So I'll start with the first one. So were you born an innovator?
Oh, definitely not. Maybe I was born more or less a problem solver, but I think it would be a stretch to say I was born an innovator, because I actually, to be very honest with you, haven't really been the one behind the big ideas that a lot of people identify me with. There are people born innovators, but I'm just one of those people who likes to, walk my way into problems, and I can't let them go until they're solved. So that's more my personality, more so than innovating. I'm just a muscle, as we say in Lagos. Yeah?
So you're 30 years old, right?
Yes, I am.
How do you justify being wealthy at the age of 30?
I don't know. I think the easiest way to respond to that question is to remind everybody that I started doing this at the age of, 2010. I started actively in technology in 2010. So that would be now 11 years for me, right? And it's been just technology. I've never taken a job elsewhere. I never really kept a job. I actually tried, but I wasn't successful. So I've been doing this exclusively for the last 10 years. And before that, I actually started my working career a lot earlier than most people, because my family, we couldn't afford, going to Canada was a big stretch. It was one of those things my father did because education was very important to him. And so because going to places like Canada were a big stretch for him, we had to support by taking up other jobs and being part of other activities that could generate money. So I left for the United Nations when I was as an intern, when I was like 17. So I've been working a long time, basically. And when I was in high school, I was in business too. I used to sell Valentine's gifts and contraband provisions. So
You wouldn't have been a
So,
true
yeah.
Nigerian, a true Nigerian if you hadn't done that.
No, it's a training ground, you know, it's a training ground. You have to do one or two things to the rules, huh?
Yes.
I didn't do anything super illegal, just contraband. That was my line. My line was contraband provisions. That's all. Nothing else. I promise, Uncle Robert. On my life.
so, so I have this question for you. The experiences you've just described,
Mm-hmm.
how did they shape you, and what are the principles that you learned from there that you now apply in your business life?
No, I learned a lot from starting to work early and starting to engage in entrepreneurship, particularly in tech very early. I think the biggest lesson I learned overall was that challenges are opportunities, right? So, you know, I walked into university feeling very sorry for myself because my parents did all the best they could and could afford tuition and a bit of room on board, but they couldn't, you know, fund, you know, me the way my peers were being funded, right? In the sense that, you know, they had all their needs taken care of and so on and so forth. I couldn't demand that of my parents in good conscience. So what, you know, that helped me build, you know, skills of learning how to create value extremely early. And that set me on the right kind of career path. And over time, as I started to encounter other challenges, those challenges quickly became opportunities, right? For me to hone some skill or build solutions. So the fundamental principle of my life, right, is this idea that challenges are really opportunities. And that's the biggest thing I've learned. But there are other things I've learned. I've learned a lot about the importance of building a great team. You know, and I've been very lucky to be able to do that in the companies where I succeeded, and also learning how to manage those teams in the companies where I did not succeed. I've learned a lot about what is important in building a mission-driven business, right? And how you have to deal, you know, with some of the challenges and opportunities around that. I've learned a lot about where social good and technology entrepreneurship meet, and the fact that they're actually best buddies. They're not, you know, opposing sides of the same hall, you know, as people often tend to think, right? In many senses, most technology businesses are social enterprises. Disguised as highly profitable, you know, mega corporations. But most people don't look at the world that way. But those are the experiences that have really shaped a lot of how I see the world of technology and business today.
There are people who are following us on the different platforms, Zoom, YouTube, and Spaces, Twitter Spaces, and they will be wondering, why is Robert talking to this guy? So I must ask you this question so that people understand. Because when I posted my discussion with you, I told them that I was going to talk to African greatness. And now I must demonstrate that to them. So tell me, what is or was...
No pressure.
What is or was Andela, Flutterweb, Future Africa, Talent City? Describe these things for us that you're doing, because the guys in the tech space know exactly what you are doing,
Okay.
and they swear by you. There was mass hysteria in the tech world in Uganda when I said you are coming on. But the other people don't know why is everybody crazy about this guy, and they've never connected you and Flutterwave, and so you, my man, you are the Jack Ma of the African continent. But people don't know. So can you now tell them what it is that you were doing?
Well, look, you know, I'm just trying to do God's work. I think that's the summary. But I'll talk to you about each of those phases. First of all, you know, many people don't talk about the companies that didn't work. So my career started with and Fora, and those are part of the story, but they didn't work out to be as successful. And I got and continues to be. How do you build an entire generation of technology leaders that can transform the continent by, you know, gaining.
Sorry, Mr. If you can hear us, we have a gap there. You've frozen out, so we may have to do that bit again about, I think we've actually even lost him completely. So, from the screen, I think he's gone off. Let's wait for him to come back.
Hey, hello, Robert. Sorry. Richie.
Okay.
If you
get rid of his video.
help me with the direct internet, because I'm kind of working off of his desktop. I don't know what's. Yeah. Thank you, Obichi. Hello, can you hear me now? Let me try and turn off my video.
Yeah, we can hear you, but it's the video, I think, that's consuming a bit of the bandwidth.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay. Let me try and turn on the video again. Sorry, I think it was just the internet. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay,
and
let's do this.
Can you just go back to
let's do
where you
this.
had just started explaining?
Okay. So I said, you know, just to explain, you know, I think really realistically, we're just trying to do God's work here. The story really starts from the companies that didn't work out. Andela, bookneto.com, Fora.co, before we got to Andela. And the big vision at Andela was wanted to raise this generation of world-class technologists that could help lead Nigeria into Nigeria specifically, but then over time expanded that vision to include Africa into a technology future. And the big idea was, look, you can't lead people into a technology future if you don't have the right foundation of people with technical skills who can actually lead that change. And that was our crusade for the first couple of years of Andela. So we built out this very extensive learning sciences operation where we recruited some of the smartest people I've ever seen in my life, trained them to become software developers, and then placed them with global technology companies around the world. And that is a big company today. It's raised over $180 million. Definitely is on its way to becoming a unicorn. Has done extremely well for itself, making revenues, and now has become a global platform for skilled technology talents, which is excellent. But then we also investing. I left the company in 20. Sorry, yes.
Oh, you left the company?
Yes, I left Andela in 2016, actually.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm no longer day to day. I left it in the hands of very capable management, who I'm extremely proud of. And then I moved on to help build Andela with Benga Agbola, who's the current CEO. Sorry, Flutterweb, my bad.
Yeah.
With Benga Agbola, who is the current CEO of Flutterweb. And the big idea with Flutterweb was we saw this massive gap with Africans being able to engage with the global economy from a point of view of digital payments. So Africans couldn't pay for Netflix. Africans couldn't pay for Uber. Africa couldn't use the, small businesses in Africa couldn't advertise on Facebook or Twitter, So all of a sudden we're using all these tools, but we couldn't get any economic benefit out of it because we couldn't pay. Or even worse, we couldn't be paid. So we had this huge monopoly with Western Union and MoneyGram for the longest time. Meanwhile, the rest of the world was starting to use TransferWise and Revolut and all that. So we started to build the rails that connect Africa to the global economy. So essentially our biggest mission was, how can we make sure Africa connects to the global economy? How can we make sure every African can participate in the global economy as an equal citizen, not as a vestige or through, all these proxies, or only as a citizen of the world, but basically as proper people. Where's that? Okay. So sorry about that. So that was the idea, and that's that we were pursuing from day one. I ran my specialty, Robert, and I think part of why people are excited, I imagine, is because my specialty is not the company when it's successful. I've actually also left Flutterweb, actually fully exited from Flutterweb after their $1 billion round. So again, like, my specialty is not the company. I try to be there when the company is at ground zero and work with the company to become something significant. And so recognizing that was my strength, I went and built the Fund for Africa's Future, which is an early stage venture capital fund that focuses on just taking companies from $0 to $100 million. And it does so by providing capital, coaching, and community to founders that are building businesses that essentially are derived from Africa's biggest challenges. So we believe that founders can take Africa's biggest challenges and turn them into global businesses. And so we try to help these companies go from 0 to 100 million. And so we've been around for 2 years, and we're leaning into that mission. Talent City, by the way, Robert, is a company that is being built by Future Africa. So Future Africa is the founder of Talent City. And the big idea with Talent City is we want to build an innovation hub, but at city scale, right? Where the smartest and the brightest people can come together to build tomorrow, right? So we recognize that there is a need for physical presence. I've been to your amazing campus in Uganda, and we just want to create something like that at city scale, because there's nothing like that in Nigeria right now. If you wanted to go somewhere where all the companies are together, all the coffee shops you walked into were technology villages, there's nothing like that in Nigeria. So we want to build a city scale business, around that.
So since you've become a venture capital guy, I want to pitch an idea to you for you to invest in, something that I have been thinking about and which is partly driving me.
I want to hear the pitch. Let's do it. Do you want to do it now, or do you want to wait till we talk in private?
I want us to build
I'm down.
An
why don't
educational company that delivers instruction online, schooling.
I love that. But what's going to be the competitive advantage? Because there's a lot of platforms that are delivering content online. So what's this one going to do differently? Is it going to be in the kind of content, or in the pattern of delivery, or in the or in the process of delivery, or in how the kids are evaluated from learning? Tell me.
It's got to do with the content that prepares Africans to experience
Fantastic.
and grow in the unique African context that no one else can deliver except by Africans. And that's where we have the competitive advantage, because we understand the continent, the unique elements, and what it is we need to do. We've been stuck in a colonially constructed education system. We can't get around it because the the government systems are like that, so we must work around and give people knowledge, information, and skills that we can deliver online without having to worry about being run and ruled by educational inspectors and things like that. And maybe those who want alternative education can come to us.
I think that sounds like a great idea. Where is it at now? Is that the show I'm on? Because if it is, I want to invest.
Okay. I will develop it and I'll speak to Peter about it the next time he's in Kampala. Let me not take too much of your time with that.
Okay, let's talk. Fantastic. No, you need to talk to him before he gets to Kampala, because I don't know when next he's getting to Kampala. So let's do a Zoom call.
Oh yeah, we will.
Thank you
no
so
worries.
much.
No worries. You see, if we follow on
Awesome.
that,
Awesome.
there's a lot of parents, because of COVID and lockdowns, who are doing homeschooling. What kind of materials do they have to work with? What are uniquely African things and a uniquely African place they can all go to with these shared experiences and using African concepts to deliver learning? But I'll speak to Peter before he's out of Lagos. Trust me, before he is out, I'll have a chat with him.
Okay. Please do. Robert, give me 1 second. I want to swap the internet. I want to swap the internet for something stronger, which they just got to me. So give me 1 minute to break, okay? Give me a minute. Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, we just had to be patient. Yeah, but I'm glad we got right to people's questions. Yeah. So awesome, man. They got to where they need their answers. Yeah. Sorry, it's just because I got in a bit late and I haven't been here in a while. So naturally,
Yeah, don't worry. This is perfect.
Fantastic. I'm excited. Okay, I'm just gonna put this here so you can see me. Awesome. Okay, so let's continue.
Those who wait.
Sorry?
All good things come to those who wait.
And those who hustle.
So which now takes me to your time to teach. There is, let me start with the issue you raised earlier. You made a comment, a very complimentary comment about Ugandan talent.
Yes.
And that sort of has become the defining phrase with you in Uganda. Can you just say exactly what you said and why it is that you arrived at that conclusion?
Man, I the more I engage with Ugandans, the more I recognize that you guys are underrated talent, right? The underrated talent of Africa. Because I feel like, and it takes me back to like Nigerians before Andela, right? I mean, I was telling a friend the other day that we always knew that Nigerian engineers were special, but we had a lot of bad PR that was clouding people's recognition of that talent, right? People, before you say 2 sentences, they would say 419 Nigerian Prince, but we knew that the talent here was not real, right? Yeah. And I feel the same way about Uganda, right? Like Uganda has a lot of underrated talents, and just needs to be polished and burnished and enabled to deliver the future that it needs to deliver. And I think a lot of that comes from real constraints that we share with you and a sense of hunger and achievement that we share with you. I haven't yet spent as much time as I should in Uganda, but I'm looking forward to doing so. But even just the talent I've engaged with, I am just blown away all the time by how,
When you come, one of the things you must do is spend time with me at my coffee farm so that you see.
Oh, hell yeah.
So you see something.
I have to make time for that.
Yes, you must.
Yeah. You guys have the most grit I've seen in East Africa, right? Like, you just go, and societies like, I look at a few countries as countries that have like embedded grits, right? Nigeria is obviously one. You guys are one. Zimbabwe is one. The talent from those countries is usually unreal.
Yes.
So yeah,
yes.
keep it up.
You can say that again. I want for you to comment on this issue. When I've interacted with people in this space who want to try things, enterprise, innovate, there is a huge element of fear and what I would call self-sabotage. People have big ideas, but they say they don't have the money. When you say there is the money, they say they don't have the time. When you say but there is time, they say, but will it work? And people want guarantees of success even ahead. How do you deal with risk, with taking chances from your point of view? How so that our people can learn that business and enterprise is really about taking chances. Nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah. I think you have to understand that failure is part of progress, right? You have to really see failure as part of progress. And the risk that you're taking is really one that pushes you forward. And it can be painful to recognize that. But like I said, everybody remembers the story of what worked, the Andela, the flutterweb. Maybe Future Africa will work, maybe it won't, who knows? Right now, it's a lot of my money, so no one knows if it's going to work. Except my wife is like, you're going to make us bankrupt. But the reality is you won't know until you try. And there's a lot of reasons not to try. The mindset that has helped me is a childish one, I have to be honest, and is one of just proving a point.
Wow.
Just being that guy with a chip on your shoulder and being willing to show everybody they're wrong.
Wait right there. Wait right there. Wait. I would like you to repeat that phrase. That much of what drives you is you have a bulletproof chip on the shoulder. Please say that again, because it's so profound.
No, I said, the truth is, for me, a lot of what drives me is just proving people wrong, like I just have a chip on my shoulder and I just want to show people that, all the things they imagined were not possible or only possible for certain kinds of people. They're just wrong about that, and that you can do it too. So it's that's something that really drives me, and has, become my a way for me to motivate myself. But you see, I'll tell you this, the sad part about that is it only works for a little while. At some point you got to grow up and build some internal motivation. At my level and at my age, I've kind of, run out of opinions to care about. So at the end of the day, I have to kind of find motivation elsewhere. Otherwise, I'll be sitting on your coffee farm, Robert, for the rest of my life.
That's a good place to be, man.
I know, but not many people want to tell you you're wrong when you've been right maybe once or twice.
That's true. That's true, and I've been in that position before. I mean, people start to think that you can't go wrong, you can never be wrong, and then they let you carry on. So the other point which I wanted you to consider is how do we solve the financing patient capital challenge that the African continent faces? I mean, we have very wealthy people, fabulously wealthy people.
Yeah.
Why is it that we're not converting them into people like you who are willing to take risks on good ideas?
Yeah. To be honest, I think it's because we haven't really built a capital stack as a continent. So for the most part, our continents have been extractive, in the sense that people come in with capital specifically to multiply that capital and take it out. And that has seeped into every part of our economy, including what we consider, I'll give you a good example. Like, look at agriculture, right? There's not very much to agriculture except that you have your soil. Do you understand? You have your farm implements, you know what I mean, and knowledge about how to increase yield from crop. Now we tend to de-emphasize that third piece, which is at the heart of how the civilized societies have increased food production over several civilizations, and just focus on number one and number two. And it points to our disregard for intellectual capital, you know what I mean, as a society. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this to say that the capital gap is actually more of a mindset issue. And it sounds like a trivialization, but I really believe this. Our country sits on millions and billions of dollars in pension funds, in all sorts of funds, right? Take that money and turn it around and use it to chase solutions that don't work in our context, because we don't have the self-confidence to take even a sliver of those resources and invest in finding solutions that work for us and for our people. And these are the real problems, right?
Yeah. So the question for
to
you
go through, especially post-COVID. Yeah. Sorry, you were saying something.
No, you conclude. They're not coming.
Yeah, I think we're going to go through post-COVID. We're going to go through an incredible realignment, you know, mentally and also, you know, from a general point of view, because, you know, COVID has created an excuse for governments to print money, right? But necessarily, when you print money, you have to increase productivity and outputs to justify that printing. And all the governments in the world are printing money. So the tide is rising. You know what they say about, you know, when the tide is out, we'll see who's swimming naked. At the end of the day, African countries are going to have to get to the point where, you know, they're deeply investing in themselves and in their capital stack, which would include, you know, everything from what are we doing with local innovation, you know, what are we doing with exporting our intellectual capital, what are we doing with our knowledge capital, our cultural capital. We're going to have to find value in very strange places. And this is the kind of capital that would then end up translating into the kind of capital that we need to be able to do what we need to do. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, let's look at it beyond the dollars. Because look, as we've proven over the last 5 years, Robert, we can get dollars from anywhere. We've done it. This year, we're going to get $1.4 billion across Africa. We've already gotten $1.4 billion across Africa into tech. So it's the problem is not dollars. The problem is capital, and dollars is not capital.
So
I don't know if I'm making sense.
You are making a lot of sense. The question is, what is capital? That's what I would like you to help me define. The way you say.
Oh, fantastic. That's it. Yeah. Peter reminds me that we've crossed 2.2 billion already. So I was wrong. So what is capital? Capital is, you know, when we were taught about capitalism, right? We were taught about the factors of production, right? And the factors of production are, you know, if you can remind me, you have entrepreneurial managers, quote unquote, land, labor, and something else, right? And that's what we call capital, right? That's what we call capital. We need to go back to that definition of capital. So capital is not somebody else's dollars coming into Africa in the name of foreign direct investment or in the name of foreign portfolio investments. Capital is land, of which we still have tons and tons of arable land, like your farm in Uganda. Capital is human capital, people, labor. We can call it labor, we can call it human capital. I think it's more respectful to call it human capital. What are we doing to improve our human capital? We can call it leadership, right? That's the idea of managerial, right? You know, and what was the fourth one you mentioned? I don't know. I've lost my economics textbook.
I was never an economist in the first place anyways.
Okay, so we'll stick with those three since that's what we remember. But my point is, we need to go back to those principles.
See if they can come up with it.
We need to go back to those principles. Sorry, what did you say?
Now, I was talking to the producers and asking them to make sure they find them for our screen so that we know what they are. Yeah.
Awesome. So I mean, my point is, look, at the end of the day, we need to go back to those forms of capital. So I'll give you an example, right?
Yeah.
When we look at the makeup of our country's foreign directs, foreign reserves across Africa, right? The biggest proportion is remittances coming back into our country. Yes. And what are remittances? Remittances are translated human capital. So we've invested in a basic foundational education for our young people, and then they're exported to America, Europe, where they then earn US dollars, with which they now send back. Do you understand? But when we send it back, instead of us using that money to invest even a sliver of it, we don't have to put all of it in, but invest in research and build out intellectual capital, dedicate some of those resources to replenishing the institutions that deliver this human capital in the first place. You understand? What we choose to do with this money is use it to chase imports, which is not capital. That's just pure consumption. So can you see how our capital cycle is like a circle drain?
Yes.
So that's what's going on.
So let me bring you to, because that's why I was making that pitch to you. The technology bus sort of left Africa behind, and you can see a lot of big innovations in Asia, big innovations in the Americas and so on. There's lots of Africans participating in there. But how can we leverage now these technologies, even though they were made elsewhere? How can we leverage them now so that we can extract maximum benefit and leapfrog ourselves into the future world, really?
Yeah. No. So that's something I think about a lot, and it's going to revolve around human capital. Yeah. And that's why I'm very excited about the work we've done at Andela, and very excited about other people who are replicating that model. Because at the end of the day, you see, the world that we're moving into, when I was talking to a state government yesterday, and I said, look, the number one requirement of a knowledge economy is not infrastructure, but human beings.
Yeah.
And if you look at the global demographic, right?
Yes.
More than half of the world's working population is going to live in Africa, not over the next 100 years, over the next 15 years. 15. So by the time my daughter is 18, right?
Yes.
They're going to be the world's largest working population. So you're almost being placed by nature to control the most important element of the knowledge economy, which is human beings.
Yes.
But you see, that for you to prepare for that reign, as I like to call it, you almost have to be very strategic about how you design and develop model scale, right? And that was what we tried to do at Andela. And we now have a model that scales, but now we need to be intentional about scaling that model. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. And we have a very good model with India. What does India produce really? Yeah, they have mineral resources, but their primary export is human beings.
Yes. In business.
They just export human beings.
Well, Nigeria.
So, yeah. No, keep going, Robert.
I'm saying, to your example, Nigeria has been exporting some of the finest, most talented individuals to the rest of the world. So, to your point, that the quality of the population that we end up having, so which then I guess also takes me to next question I wanted to ask you about. I mean, what can we do um, to improve that intellectual capacity of the population that's on the African continent so that they can become dreamers, but also completely competent and capable of pursuing those dreams and delivering them into solutions for life?
Yeah, there's a lot we can do, but I think we're going to have to start with access. You know, one of the reasons why I enjoy working with is Peter's story is extremely inspiring to me, right? From the point of view of this was a kid who went to, you know, was in Makerere, and before that was just in a very distant, remote village. But because of access, you know, to Makerere and to all the opportunities after Makerere, look at where he is today, right? Definitely one of the most valuable players on our team.
Yes.
And I look at that and I say that could be any child's story across Africa.
True.
I mean,
True.
people like me that were born in some relative privilege may have one or two things to say, but the reality is it could be any of us story, right? And I think about that and I say, what would happen if we made that process of...
Okay, no, we're sorting out something on this side.
Okay, no problem. Sorry about that.
I can see you now. Hey, no, I know what you did. Yeah, I know what you did.
What did I do?
You went to put on makeup, so you switched off so you can go and wear makeup.
I wish I even knew how to put on makeup.
Okay, but let's continue now, since you said that your timing is running low. I have some questions that people were asking the other time, and we managed to capture some of them. There's a young person called Kelvin Odobo. Don't worry about the name. And he is asking, what do you think is more important for founders in Africa to focus on at an early stage? Is it customer validation, traction, building for scale across borders, one national market, bootstrapping, early revenue? These things, I don't know them. This is your language, this is your world. I'm a coffee man.
Yeah. So I think, you know, the one thing I think is actually important to optimize for in the earlier stages wasn't mentioned, and that is actually team. You know, like, because the nature of a startup is very dynamic, it's just so important that you have sorry, should I go? Okay, so sorry, forgive me.
No.
Because the nature of startups are very dynamic, and you're working on solutions that are, you know, you have to scale rather quickly, and the marketplace is dynamic, and you really just have to find the right team that has an experience of what is, what has been, but also can work with somebody who sees the future and doesn't have inhibitions about it. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Can I ask you to help me define something? Who is a person who sees the future? What are the characteristics of such a person? I mean, you could just say Aboyeji, that would define it. But
so I think one of the things about people who see the future, right? The defining characteristic for me is somebody who has a vision of what a challenge could become if it was an opportunity, right? And is actually just desperate to see that world become, notwithstanding who implements it. We call them mission-driven founders. So what it means is, like, Robert, if I wanted to grow a different kind of coffee, maybe coffee that helps you sleep, for example, right? I wouldn't care.
Actually, our challenge right now is climate resilient coffee planting material. So there's an opportunity for you.
Exactly. There you go. So now imagine if you found somebody, some young kid, who is like, we can build climate resistant coffee. And actually, I don't care if I make money from building climate resistant coffee. I'm just going to build climate resistant coffee, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the person is working every day, doing the work specifically just to get to climate resistant coffee, not caring how he's going to make money from it, how, you know, all that stuff. That guy sees the future.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. And those are the kind of people
Absolutely.
you want on the team when you're building these things out. So that's the most important thing. Now, after you do that, then you look for a customer to validate, right? To solve a problem for. Because one of the biggest mistakes founders make is trying to solve everybody's problem at the same time. Mm-hmm. And that's when you get crazy, right? But if you just focused on, look, we're going to build climate resistant coffee in Uncle Robert's farm, right? Mm-hmm. That's it.
Finished.
Do you understand
No
what I'm saying?
Focus, all energy, time.
Yeah. So when you now get climate resistant coffee from Uncle Robert's farm, right? You can now go to other farms like Uncle Robert's farm and say, hey, would you like to grow coffee all year? Right? Here are the seeds. You can buy them for $100 a pack. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. Yes. And then you can now scale that into a global business. So you can see how the line goes from the team to customer validation to traction, and then ultimately to scale, right?
Yeah. And I think a lot of our people become impatient and want to go quickly to the money.
To scale. Idea. They want to go to scale without caring about traction or caring about customer validation and problem solving. Actually, I think, you know, because, you know, there's an element of this that's like, do you even care about climate resistant coffee, Uncle Robert? Maybe you're happy not farming all year, right?
Yeah. I may have a completely different priority.
Exactly. So then maybe you're not the right customer for me to be validating. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes. In my old business world, we used to call it determining your market. So but we're old fashioned, we're old school. So
Uncle Robert.
The follow-up question on that is, what's the definition of product market fit in the African context?
I not found, and nothing exemplifies that more than in Africa. And what it means, I mean, when we talk about product market fit, what we're really talking about is problem solution fit. You know what I mean? Yes. Where people find a big problem, right? And sometimes it's very easy for people to kind of think about it cursorily. You know what I mean? So, for example, we have in Lagos, Nigeria, we have a 17 million housing deficit, right? So someone can look at that and say, oh, that's a big problem to solve. But people have not really thought through, how do we get people to afford it? Where do we find the capital to build it? And there are all these other layers of problems that people haven't completely and properly thought about that lead us to that $17 million housing deficit. The housing deficit is even more like a symptom than a disease. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
It's like evidence of a problem, of a broken capital market, evidence of lack of property rights, evidence of all these other things that come before we get there. So in the African context, I think product market fit is creating a solution, right, that is implementable in units for a problem such that the solution can scale, right, to perhaps significantly eliminate that problem. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, we'll chew on it, because I now have a subsequent question for you from Marin. And she's asking, what do you think it takes to create a venture capital culture on the African continent? I think we sort of hinted on this, where local investors can participate instead of startups having to go and compete in the capital markets all over
Yeah.
parts of the world where they're not easily understood.
Yeah, this is true, but I think there's another element of it. So I think that, so the way venture capital evolved in the US was that, you have this venture capitalists, these venture capitalists go and meet corporates, or they go and meet pension funds, who then allocate a small sliver of their capital to them, in the understanding that this is risk capital and that this capital may be lost entirely, right? But obviously, because it's not significant, it doesn't matter. But then there's also an understanding that if they do very well, it could make up like a big bonus, right, for the portfolio. It could lift the portfolio significantly. I think in Africa, we might have to construct the stack differently. We've tried to do it the Oyinbo way, as we say in Lagos, but I don't think that's working, because I think people want to judge risk on their own. And people are not just investing because of return, but they're investing because they want to see problems solved. So I think the way venture capital will evolve here is the way it's evolving, which is an army of angels is a venture capitalist. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. So it's really just going to be people opting in. And this is something that we've designed and implemented at Future Africa with the Future Africa Collective. We have a community of over 300 co-investors. And we write this really, really lucid, thank you, Peter, for doing that, write the lucid analysis about companies. And then we share them with our community. And our community then says, hey, I'll put my $5,000 or my $2,500 into this company. I imagine if that is a product your bank offers or your wealth manager offers, right? Where they can give you access to alternative investments. And the reason why I say this is because that is how the real estate market evolved as well. That is how the agriculture investment market evolved as well. So there's no reason why venture capital will buck that trend and you're going to have this, big investor who's going to come and give you money and all that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the biggest challenge, though, with this happening, there are really policy issues, right? And systemic product issues. So, for example, if I'm investing in a US company as a Ugandan investor, it makes my life hell, right? Like, the investment toolkits and the investment paradigm is heavily skewed towards US investors, sadly, right? It's almost like they don't recognize that other people from other countries can possibly want to invest. You know what I mean? So
yes.
that would need to change. And we're working on solutions to change that, where investors from all over the world outside the US have the same quality of investor experience as an accredited investor within the US.
Okay. I have two more questions and then I'll let you go back to your normal life and you don't have to be boring uncles. So you followed the story of the shortage of computer chips, semiconductor. And somebody is asking me, from your experience of Andela, and how can Africa respond to the limited tech talent available in order to sustain entities like yours that you're creating? I mean, you're competing in the same international pool of engineering talent. I mean, you offer money and then Microsoft comes and pays the guy like 9 times what you're paying. Yeah, there you are.
Well, I think one of the things, and it's so funny you mentioned the chip shortage, because, I was doing an analysis and I was telling Peter to help. We're doing an analysis of the chip industry, and we're figuring out that like 85% of the components for making chips are in Africa, primarily in the Congo. Yeah.
Yes.
And, back to that question about capital and how we've misdefined capital as dollars, right? Meanwhile, capital is what's in the ground, our mineral resources that can be transformed into these things. We just lack the ambition to take on these types of endeavors of like actually building African-made chips. Now, that said, the beautiful thing about having a resource in abundance is that you can afford to think in terms of pipeline, not scarcity.
Yeah.
So, like I said, there's more than enough young people that can be transformed to tech geniuses. So I'm not worried when somebody takes a Microsoft job that pays 5. I just replace them. So I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all.
Okay. Thank you very much for spending your time with us. Very valuable. That's probably the most valuable thing you carry with you. I don't even think it's your bank accounts, it's your time. And for you to spend it with us for the benefit of Ugandans is absolute generosity.
No, I love Ugandans. You just need to give me a passport. Huh?
We'll even give you land.
I'm such a big fan.
We'll even give you land. If you want, we can add a wife.
No problem. I think I'll find Peter a wife faster.
What would you say? What would be your last message to kids or people younger than us who are listening and watching? What would you tell them if you just had a minute? What would you say to them that would build their self-confidence and fire up their dreams and ambitions?
Yeah. Look, I think the biggest thing I tell young people these days is that the future is in your hands, like quite literally, right? In 15 years, all the problems that you see and that you worry about and complain about, they're going to be gone. They don't have a choice in the matter. You know, and the future will literally be in your hands. So do everything you can to prepare for that moment. Don't get caught up in the mourning and all of that. Prepare for the time when leadership will literally be yours, and start to dream and do and prepare yourself for that time, because we can't afford another unprepared generation. When we got independence, I don't think our fathers were prepared for the responsibility of nation building. And so we defaulted to bad habits. And we can't afford another generation of young people to do that to us.
Thank you very much, Ian, for joining us on 360 Mentor and for having coffee with me. Enjoy your stay.
Absolutely.
In Abuja. And
thank you. I will.
Don't forget my clothes.
I will not forget your clothes. I'll make sure they get to you. Okay, this time, and then you wear it on 360 Mentor.
100%.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. We're good.
So, thank you very much for
having
me with us.
I'm glad we got to make. I'm glad we got to get this to happen. I'm so delighted.
If you didn't know him before, you know him now, and you know where to look for what it is that needs to fire up and drive up your dreams. You too, an ordinary young African looking to achieve at your highest. There's Mr. Ionlua Aboyeji. Thank you, guys. Have a nice weekend.